Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 from the LFC Daytrippers. It is World Cup time, but we're throwing that to the side tonight, and we're going to talk some Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp signings, and we're going to have a nice time doing it. With me is Seany, Keith, and Emmet. They've given me the top 5. We will reveal them as we go through the show. I'm going to say it now. Please, one of you remind me towards the end of the show to give away one of these LFC Daytripper hats, because I know I'm going to forget, right? So one of you just remind me towards the end. Disclaimer, I had got 10 to give away. I now have 5 because I just gave 5 away to deserving kids instead of giving it to the adults in the chat. So kids, 5 kids have got them. Sienna's got one, Bobby's got one. A lot of other kids have got them. So we're down to 5 and we're going to give the 5 away this week. Keith, you look upset by this.
No. The weekend after the toy show and all. What a week for the kids.
What a week for the
kids. All go.
And if I can get Queevy and Kelleher to deliver them, I will. Listen, well, I don't know. We don't get access like that, despite what most people think.
Do we not?
No. We absolutely don't. But look, also, the link is in the description for Lydia getting her to 5/6K. It's flying at the moment. It's up over 4, I think, at the minute. But if we can get her there, it'd be absolutely brilliant. She's booked in for her surgery and endometriosis, I want to say is the word, and I haven't looked her up in a week, so there you go. That's what she's suffering with. It's meant to be horrific. She's booked in for surgery, so if we can get her to that target, it'd be absolutely amazing. So the link is in the description, and make sure you do that as well. Seany, how was your weekend?
Good, yeah. Not bad. Enjoyed that game today.
Yeah, enjoying the World Cup overall?
And now, to be honest, I've found, like, I'm watching it, but I think a lot of the games have been shy.
Right.
I think I've been a lot of nil-alls. There was a few decent results today. Seems to be sort of the World Cup where the underdogs are doing bits, but watching Mbappe yesterday, fuck me, like,
he's ridiculous, isn't he?
He's a supreme talent. Like, he's the closest thing I've seen to R9 since R9.
The thing about me is, you know the way you say about players, if they get a yard of space, you're in trouble. If you give him a yard of space, you might as well forget about it. He's just gone. It's madness,
he's brilliant. He's shown other strings to his bow, like to his game, and this you could see him being a bit of a playmaker as well at times for France. So, to be honest with you, I think whoever beats France is gonna win the World Cup. From what I've seen so far, Spain and Germany are great today. We got a good look at the old next gen, Pedri, Gavi, and Musiala. So it's been a good tournament in terms of the younger players showing up. But I think if it wasn't for the younger players showing up, it would be pretty drab at the moment, because other than the GOAT himself doing bits last night. Look, it's going to be interesting. I don't know, like match day 2, and nobody's really pulled up trees. So I think the knockouts are going to be.
There's a lot of them going down to the final game, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, there's not really many dead rubbers. You know, like there would have been if Spain won tonight, because Spain would have been through. But there's an awful lot of teams on 4 points. Like England are through unless they get hammered. But there's a lot of stuff going on in most of the groups, which is good to see. Keith, how's your weekend been? What music you listen to this weekend?
I wasn't really listening. Busy weekend. You know, as I said, toy show was on. Kids were up till all hours. No, it wasn't. I didn't get an invite, surprisingly enough. They don't want the likes of me on there with me big bald angry face. No, that was on. It's a nightmare. So I said before, I coach my young lads football team, and the morning after the toy show was a fucking disaster in junior football. Now, people outside Ireland don't know what the toy show is. It's the Late Show, the longest running show, isn't it? Longest running show in the world or something.
Is it? Show in the world, yeah.
It is, yeah. It is.
It's gone since I want to say the 60s.
Yeah. 1927.
Michael Collins was the first host on it.
Yeah. But the morning after the toy show was always a nightmare. Kids were like zombies playing 9:30 kickoff out in the AOL. So I was out at that and then just chasing around, doing a few visits here, there, and everywhere. You know, getting ready for Christmas and things like that. So busy weekend. The World Cup. So yeah, music. I haven't listened to much music. The World Cup's been on constantly in my house, but I'm being honest. Like, I've only watched the 2 Argentina games in full and the Spain-Germany one tonight. And I agree with Sean. You thought it was a great game, Spain-Germany. But the World Cup isn't doing it for me. The time of year. I'm not talking about the sort of whole political side of it. I'm just talking about it's winter, it's dark, it's dreary. The games aren't enticing me. Too many players look way off it. I mean, I'm seeing bits of games. I've seen about 20 minutes of the Belgium game today, and they look bleeding atrocious. Do you know what I mean? Like Kevin De Bruyne, they might as well have stayed
Kev
at
De
home.
Bruyne is
That
running
fella.
around with an hour 35 Saturday side. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He is, isn't he?
But he's not really running. In fairness, that's
He's probably
giving him
just
a
said,
bit of
"Fuck
credit.
this," you know what I mean? Why am I running around when yous are all bleeding, doing nothing?
But you've got like Shawnee said, young lads getting in there like Musiala and Pedri and Gavi, and we see Bellingham for England. But then you've got Southgate, you know, like Phil Foden. I know he's not young, and Trent are young, but two of their most creative players, and they're not getting a bleed minute on the pitch. And you know, it that sort of sums her up, the drabness, you know what I mean, of the World Cup. It could be better, it's not. And, you know, as soon as Argentina go out, I will stop watching it. Like, I won't have really an interest in it then at that stage. But, look, it's one that I don't think will be remembered too long in the history books.
We have to see. I suppose when it gets into the knockouts, there's a couple of surprises, and then you get big teams thrown up against each other early on. It might be one of those. Emma, how's your weekend been? Are you going to give out about the World Cup as well?
No, I'm a bit like Keith. It's kind of more so on in the background, and I don't think I've actually sat through a full game yet. But yeah, in terms of quality, it's shit. But in terms of being interesting and like it being kept interesting, like Japan going and beat Germany and then lose to, oh sorry, who was it? Japan
Beat Germany and then lost to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I was sick because I had Costa Rica in the sweep, and the worst team gets a few quid back, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" But
but the quality, it's like there's been flashes of quality, but nothing. I don't think outstanding. But it's just it's kind of kept interesting with Argentina losing, Germany losing. There's no dead, like you said, there's no real dead rubber. So like even match day 3. There's nearly all to play for in a good few groups. So yeah, it might pick up in the. I'm with Keith as well. It's World Cup is summertime. It's sitting out your back garden drinking cans.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to get into it, but I'm throwing an eye here and there.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll see how the World Cup goes. We did do some watch-alongs during the week, and we done some World Cup roundup shows, and we might do that again this week. We'll see, but we might try to draw a draft or a quiz or whatever's in there. I'll have to twist Keith's arm and someone else's arm to help me out with them. But we're going to go tonight on Jurgen Klopp's top 5 signings during his tenure from October 2015 to now. I asked the lads to give me 5 players. They did. A little bit of variation in pick 5. No variation whatsoever in pick 4. I'm just going to let you know. And then from 3, 2, 1, it gets interesting because there's multiple players all shifted around different positions. So I'll be interested to see where they go. So, Shawnee, I'm going to start with you. Pick number 5, 5th in your opinion, in Klopp's top 5 signings since he's been here. Who have you gone for?
So I went with Andy Robertson as number 5 because look, there's a whole myriad of reasons, but you look at the price and what we got and what he's done since coming in. Like it's one of the best Premier League signings of all time. Never mind Klopp. I think it's one of the best value for money signings we've ever got. Like he literally comes in, takes a little bit of time to break into the team, eventually gets in, cements his place, and then you're looking at someone who has been in the top 2 or 3 left backs in the world pretty much since. Now he's had a bit of a rough patch this season, but I felt he was kind of getting back to himself just before the end of the break. But right up there with the Ashley Coles for me in terms of how good he is, and he's won it all. And for 8 million from Hull, having just sold Kevin Stewart there for 8 million.
Yeah, straight swap more or less.
Yeah, it's an absolute heist of a transaction. Like it should really be looked into by somebody because he done some job, and he's been absolutely brilliant. I think Robertson on his day gets into every single side in world football, and the character he has, he's a bit of a shithouse. He's just massive to this team, Gav. He's massive. We see how important fullbacks are to this team. And I think, look, if you could go back in the last 4 or 5 years and someone told you could pick any player in the world to replace Andy Robertson or keep Andy Robertson, you're keeping Andy Robertson. He's absolutely sensational. And at 8 million, I think, look, it just goes to show how good the recruitment from Klopp and his team have been since he's come in, that this fella is only number 5 on my list.
It's interesting because when I seen Robertson on your list, I start thinking, really good signing. A little bit surprised he was in there because there's some huge names, like, in fairness. But then I thought about it more and I went, hold on. If you look at Liverpool, basically over the Premier League, the whole of the Premier League, left back has more often than not been a problem area. Aurelio was a good left back for Liverpool, but just couldn't play. Reece was a decent left back for Liverpool, but he just wanted to get forward. He wasn't very good defensively. You go back to the likes of Julian Dix and fucking all sorts of messing going on. Insua comes into the team too early and plays too much, too young, and ends up just falling off a cliff. But Robertson comes in at 8 million, and I remember him when he signed, and people were like, look at Liverpool signing players for 8 million, and laughing, and like, he's genuinely the best left back in the world over the last 4 or 5 years, in my opinion. And then you look at the assists he has, and you're kind of saying, what the, like, we talk about Trent's assists and they're amazing, but Andy Robertson, is he second in the all-time assists in the last 5 years in the Premier League or something?
He's leading assists now for defenders in Premier League history.
Yeah. But I think he's second in assists in the Premier League overall in the last 5 years.
He might be, yeah. I think he might just be behind De Bruyne. I think it's only De Bruyne ahead of him. But, like, look at the money we had to spend on a fella to come in to deputise him. 12 million actually cost more.
Yeah.
So it just got to show you how good of a sign it's been. Like, Robertson is and will always be one of my favourite players of this club era. I think he completely encapsulates what the team was about as well. And he's coming around, he's recovering, and I still think he has a lot to give as well. I don't think I think he's far from done. He's absolutely brilliant. When you see somebody with the work rate and the quality to go with it, it's an absolute, it's a steal. When you see the money others have spent on fullbacks,
how much are you going to have to, like, Kieran B says Enrique was decent, only for a short period of time, in fairness. Jonathan says he's a handful behind Leighton Baines with regards to assists. I think he's level with him now after playing about 180 less games or something like that. But when you look at the money you'd have to spend on a left back to do that job now, now don't get me wrong, you could go out and spend 12 million and you could do the same again, but it's very hard to repeat something like that when you have a player that's gone in there, played that amount of games, won that amount of trophies, had that amount of assists, and just is loved, and like you said, he falls on Everton players and gives them an elbow, and he laughs at them and all that sort of stuff, and everyone loves that.
Messi.
Messi just pushing him in the head as if he's like some fella in the park. It's, I just think when you have Robertson on that list, you kind of go, could you argue it? Yeah, but at the same time, if you want to replace Mo Salah, right, who's a phenomenal footballer, you're talking mad money. We spoke about it, didn't we, with contracts, and if he left, how much would it cost? It's going to cost you a huge amount of money to go and get somebody like Andy Robertson in. And he's not the flashiest player in the world, but to do what he's done with Liverpool over the last 5.5 years now, it's just, I just think it'll cost you an absolute fortune.
Well, look what City paid for Cancelo. Was it over 50, 60 million?
Look how many they had to spend to even get to that.
And I don't even think he's as good.
Sorry, I was going to say Emma, but I think Keith second on the list. I'm going to bring up in a minute. Keith, you're number 5.
Yeah, my I don't have Robbo, and it was between Robbo and this player for me to get into the list. And I agree with everything Shawnee said. Robbo's one of my favourite players. He's an absolute snoid. I love that about him. But I went for Joel Matip, and I went for Joel Matip because I feel the importance of Joel Matip for Jurgen Klopp. I think if you were to ask Jurgen Klopp about his best transfers, I think Matip would be right up there. He's a player that he wanted. He's a player from Germany who he had deal, Schalke and Dortmund would have been rivals, and he would have been well aware of Joel Matip. And I think he said before, when he got to Liverpool and he realised he could get him, he was all over Joel Matip. Look, the elephant in the room with Joel Matip is the injury record that he has. He hasn't played that many games, but when he does play, he's like a unicorn of a centre back, Joe Matip. Do you know what I mean? In the sense that he's such a good ball carrier. He's a good defender. He's a great defender. I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves as a defender, but as a ball carrier out of defence, he's probably the best in world football at it, if I'm being totally honest. You know, well, I'd be biased about that, but I think, you know, if people were being honest, you'd be hard pressed to find a better one than Matip. But his injury record is the thing that holds him back. But I just feel as an important signing of the Klopp era, he comes in, he does well at the start, and then he the injuries catch up with him, don't they? And a bit of form goes out the window. But he comes back into the team, and he's back in the team for the good times. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I love about Joe Matip. He's been there. He's the go-to. I think he'll always be the go-to centre-back when fit, until he's no longer, you know, the main man. I think Joe Gomez has been brilliant for Liverpool. I just think Matip's a player that Klopp would always take. Or even Kanate is only now coming in that Kanate might leapfrog him, but they've got their money's worth out with Joe Matip, considering they played zero. And similar to what Seany said, you know, if you're looking for value for money, Andy Robertson and Joe Matip didn't cost a bean. Do you know what I mean? And look at the service we're getting out of them. As I say, games played with Matip will always hold him back. But when he does play, I think his importance to the team, his importance to how we play, his importance to his defensive partners, and his importance to his goalkeeper, the pressure he takes off players by being able to take the ball in tight areas and run with it. It's a very, very underrated quality, and he's just a player who I love, and I'd put in there as maybe not the best top 5 signings, but for me, one of Klopp's most important, and I think he would be in Klopp's top 5, so that's why I went for him.
A lot of people in the chat are making Red Steve says Keith's trying to make up for punching at that giraffe by picking Matip. And G10 says Matip is class, but his fitness makes it a hard call to have him in the top 5. I think that's the only thing that holds him back. You know, and you know, I think it was 18, 19 where he disappears for half a season, and Gomez comes in and is absolutely brilliant. I think it might be 18, 19, and maybe it's 19, 20. But on the pitch, a brilliant signing, a free transfer. You know, he came in and people were like, well, could he play defensive midfield? And he goes in at centre back, and he's never really let Liverpool down on the pitch. There's never a game, there's not many where I've come up, I've watched them, and I watched the Liverpool game, and that's all on Matip. Matip was absolutely appalling there. He's a 7 to 8 out of 10 centre half most of the time, and arguably our better centre half last season. You know, Van Dijk coming back from an injury, and you know, but Matip was absolutely brilliant. And in fairness to him, his durability has kind of improved as he's aged a little bit, and that can only be good for Liverpool, because I think Kanate is the natural successor there. I actually believe Kanate is probably the natural successor to Van Dijk, to be honest with you. And you'll probably see another centre half come in and in time take up that position where Matip is at the minute. But value for money, unbelievable. Possibly you could mark him down because of how durable he is and how available he is, but on the pitch, it's not like he's a player that comes on and you go, oh, for fuck this fella, he's never on the fucking pitch. And when he is, you know, you don't know whether you're going to get a 4 out of 10 or a 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10. You usually know you're getting 7 plus with Joe Matip. So it might be a bit of a controversial pick for me, but I kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and he's a player who, before we move off, because the next person that we're going to talk about is the opposite of this. I always find with Matip, he can come in after an injury and hit the ground running. Do you know what I mean? He's not one that would take a few games really to get up to speed, or a break away from the team, and he takes a while. Matip usually slots in if he's been out of the team and he comes in. He's usually like he hasn't been away. And that's the thing. I just think he's just an important player. One of Klopp's 4 signings. I think it was the January, was it, after Klopp comes in and he got him, or the summer maybe. But yeah, brilliant signing. But we'll move on to the next player.
Keith's pissing all over my pick.
Hey, is Keith on the Baileys or gone off, mate?
The Baileys.
Baileys.
Yeah.
Jesus,
Special
Christmas
occasion
really
tonight.
Kicked in, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What, do you want to tell us what the special occasion is?
Yeah, it's final of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Arizona.
Okay, right.
I'll go in my house tonight.
All right. Emma, go.
Yeah. both Matip and Rappo were in contention for my number 4. I think the top 4, probably everybody's top 4 will pick themselves, just depending on what order you put them in. But number 5 was the one that I was kind of stuck on. I thought about Robbo, I thought about Matip, and I settled on Fabinho. Basically, why I settled on Fabinho, but this season aside, I think he's been an absolute rock in the centre of our midfield. Probably something that we missed since we lost Mascherano, and probably didn't have like go gadget legs, breaking everything up. Just a really strong spine in the team in front of Alisson and Van Dijk. Yeah, I just think he's lacked competition this season, and it's probably been ran into the ground and overused. Look, go back to 2021. He's playing at centre half for us. So he's a little bit of a Swiss Army player as well. And yeah, I'm put off Fabinho now after listening to the other two.
Do you know what? No, I think you make a great argument for him, because
I wasn't going value for money or anything like that.
No, well, no. Do you know what it was like when I seen Fabinho come up, and the other lads can jump in as well if you want. But when I seen Fabinho come up, I thought back to signing him. We've lost the European Cup final in Kiev. When you seen that game, you were probably looking for someone that a bit more of a controller in midfield, and maybe we were a bit hectic at times. And we loved that season. Don't get me wrong; it was a mad season, but we were probably looking for, and bang, out of nowhere, Fabinho done 40 odd million quid, and he comes in, and let's be honest about it, in 18, 19, 19, 20, he's phenomenal for Liverpool. Like, Liverpool transition from crazy into more controlled, and then in 18, 19, and 18, 19, and then 19, 20, we just go into just complete dominance of football games, and he is massive in it, because we take risks, and even when we take risks, he's the one that's the linchpin, where he's not the last line of defence, but if you get by him, we could be in a bit more bother, and he was everywhere.
He was winning an awful lot of balls up high as well. He was
winning balls high. He was tracking back, winning tackles, cutting off passing lanes, interceptions, and not only that, he brought to his game where he was a bit creative as well from a really deep line position. I think he's a great show, and
7 assists he has.
Yeah, I think he's been absolutely brilliant. Keith, I know what Keith's saying with regards to when he comes back, he can take a little bit of time to get going, but he works so hard in that team. And do you know what? He's not playing much in this World Cup. I don't think he's played at all in this World Cup yet. But it might be the case where he comes back and he's all good again, and we see where he is, because I wouldn't write Fabinho off yet. Lads, have a word on Fabinho before we go on.
You had
just
to
on
get
what G10 is saying there, he's saying was that Fabinho was the signing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was Mark Goldbridge, that's his name. Mark Goldbridge did a video on YouTube welcoming Fabinho to Manchester United, and literally the day after, or the following day, he was holding up a Liverpool jersey. That's another nice thing about Fabinho as well.
Just going to shout out to Keith's little ability there to get a little slide dig in after the bell.
I don't know the rules on this. Is this going to a vote for who has the best list? So I just wanted to be
no.
Just in case.
Oh well, and thank God there isn't, because you've started off heavy, and if we let you know that there is rules, God knows where this is going to go. But
not content, but absolutely ruining me on a glass.
But Keith, Shawnee, Fabinho, like, he goes through patches of form, and I think this season, I personally think the change in formation and the change in players beside him and the way Liverpool are playing, I think, has affected him a lot. You can't write a player like that off yet, can you?
No, it'd be ridiculous too. You know what I mean? He's an excellent player, and Fabinho's another one. I wasn't digging him out saying he does take a while coming back from these things, but generally he's been excellent for us. And the way I look at these lists is, and the players we're going to talk about were sort of transcendent players in positions of need, and Fabinho was also that, because Fabinho was in a position that we just needed a player to do that job. We had Emre Can. This fella wasn't Emre Can. He's mobile. He snaps into tackles. Do you know what I mean? And he was a he was a solution to a problem, and he's been excellent for us. And look, people, recency bias is a big, huge thing in these. You know, people will look at him and say, "Well, what have you done for me lately? You've been stinking this year." But Fabinho was a great signing for us, and I think he will definitely be in the great Klopp signings for years to come.
Shawnee,
You fucking lick.
He just takes
Absolutely.
a few weeks to come back from a layoff. That's
absolutely fucking torn.
Keith Hancock there.
I'm telling you, fucking hell. But Shawnee, when at the game recently, I went over to against Southampton. I thought Fabinho looked a bit off, right? But then when Liverpool actually went and pressed Southampton as a unit, and I include Elliot and who was in Thiago, when they got on top of Southampton for it was about 10 minutes in the first half, Fabinho looked back to Fabinho because he knew his players beside him were committing themselves and he knew where to be. He looks cost sometimes for me.
Not even that. Well, like we shouldn't even really, in my opinion, be talking about what's gone on this season. I think when you're looking at these signings, you kind of look at from the day they come in until now.
Yeah.
And if you look at Fabinho's Liverpool career, barring coming back from injury, which is completely acceptable, by the way. Like that's normal. Like that can happen to anybody. You know, like, some of the best players of all time have taken players to recover from injuries. You don't all just walk back in. Like Fabinho has been a linchpin in this team. I think it was a signing that took anyone by surprise because it was one of those where he was a player emerging in Europe that probably had his pick of clubs to go. I mean, and he actually managed to nab him. And you look at the impact he had on the team. He's such a key component. And again, similar to Robbo, since coming in, like if you're looking over like a 4 or 5 year kind of 4 or 5 year range in European football, like he's right up there. He's up there with your Rodri's or whoever else, Kimmich, whoever else you want to put in there. He's been absolutely sensational, and he's won it all. And again, it was one of those players that come in, and you instantly seen the impact he had on the team when he started playing. Because if he was another one like Robbo, who didn't play.
Yeah, had a bit of, I think he makes a debut away at Arsenal. He's a bit of a mare for the first half hour, and then he's fucking grand.
We shouldn't I would, if someone said if this was a top 10, he probably would have been number 6 for me. That's the truth, because
that's fair. And
he's been so important. And again, I couldn't tell you off the top of the head how much we paid for him. And that's normally a good parameter if you've paid good money for someone. That the fee was never discussed, because he's been immense since he came in, and he could well regain form. I think maybe a shift the system with someone there to support him, because I still do think he has an awful lot to give. I think where Fabinho is struggling at the moment is more of a mental thing as much as it is a physical thing. Because
just on the mental thing, then
mistakes. So look, for me, like Keith said, in the long list of Klopp signs that Liverpool have made since Klopp come in, he'll be right up there. He's a brilliant footballer, and it's not often those whole midfielders are a joy to watch, but when he's in full flow, he's absolutely sensational.
One of the best penalty takers in world football.
Just on the mental side of it, though, right? We all talk about in January a midfielder. We need midfielders in because we need to do this, that, and the other. How much of a boost does it give to the likes of a Fabinho, where he goes in and he's going, I'm going to get a fella in here, and he runs all fucking day, right? And he's a pressing monster. Like, if you turn around to Fabinho and said tomorrow, by the way, well, Bellingham is signing on the 1st of January, just for argument's sake, or Enzo, what's his face, right, off Argentina, good goal the other night. But if how much of Keith would that give a boost to like Fabinho, where he knows another body's in that has an absolute engine on them, you know what I mean? And can take not a little bit off him, but put Liverpool back where they used to be, where they pressurised people and Fabinho just mopped everything up behind, rather than Liverpool letting teams get hold of it in areas of the pitch where Fabinho looks exposed because he's the deepest of the three. Yeah,
like Fabinho, as too many people are writing him off too soon, I think, Fabinho, and maybe a bit of competition would be good. Hendo really is the backup in there, and he probably doesn't have the legs himself these days, but maybe it does take another player to come in and really put the pressure on, because the great players don't mind competition. They'll look at a challenge and they'll react to that. A weak player will see competition and crumble. And I don't see Fabinho in that mold. I see Fabinho as a player will come in and he knows his strengths and he knows his abilities and he's confident, right? Maybe, as Shawnee said, it could be a mental thing with Fabinho and mental tiredness or whatever. And it's a case of, right, I'll just get this extra 5% and that's all he needs to do. And I would see that. That's why I sort of, when looking for a midfield player, I did want a defensive type of midfielder just to put that pressure on and to take him out if needed, and rest him, because he does play an awful lot, because he's so important to the team. So fucking important that, he does need a competition, but he also needs a player that can give a good rest. That's why I was looking at the likes of a Sangare or something like that could come in, wouldn't immediately take over, but would be able to relieve that pressure, but would have a bit of quality as well.
Right, you've all gone for the same player, number 4, and I'm actually surprised he's not higher in the list, I'm going to be honest, but I'll give us all a go on this player. So, Emma, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, he was higher. My list has changed so much today. He was higher, then he was lower. He was actually even lower. But I've gone for Mane in 4th. I did have him higher because he was the player that came in and kind of nearly kick-started the revolution, if you will. But like when you look and when everybody's probably going to know what 3 are in front of him. I just feel they've probably been slightly more important to us in terms. I don't want to talk about them than Mane has been. Mane is absolutely unbelievable. Like goal scoring machine. He's won us so many games. Last minute at Goodison Park. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, so the lads will have something to say as well. But I just think he's only in 4th because the players ahead of him are so much more important than he is.
Okay, Keith, Sadio Mane.
Similar to what Emmet said, it's Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane is such an important player, and I don't look at 4th as a reflection of a slight on Mane because of the players that are ahead of him. But he comes into Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp and he's his first big attacking signing, and his impact, he hits the ground from day one. He's fucking amazing. Do you know what I mean? He's playing on the right wing. He's terrorising teams. And then we bring in Mo Salah and he switched to the left wing and he doesn't moan about it. He just goes and does it from the left. He's a workhorse. They bring in Luis Diaz and he's moved into the centre and he doesn't moan about it and he just fucking does it. Everything Mane was asked to do, he done. And he excelled in all them. I know he was only 6 months really in the centre forward role for Liverpool, but what Mane gave, we got every last ounce out of Mane. He gave us everything, never left anything out on the pitch, and he's just down one of our best attacking signings of all time. I think the trio that our famous front three, all in their top signings of all time, and Sadio Mane is definitely up there. I just have him behind the other fella because of the digits, the numbers just do it for the other fella, the sheer volume of goals. But look, Sadio Mane in 4th might seem like a slight, but it's not. It's really not. Like, he's absolutely amazing.
Shawnee, Sadio Mane.
The catalyst, I think, if I was going to sum up, that would be the words I'd use. I think Sadio was the catalyst for an awful lot. And do you know what? I hope me to put him 4th because, like Pete said, it's not like it's a slight on him, but I just think he deserves the award. I think he was an absolutely fucking brilliant servant for Liverpool. The numbers, the performances, the moments he had, his availability, how much he cost. We were kind of mocked for buying him. Everyone was kind of going, what are he doing? And he just exploded.
Well, we were mocked when after United were convinced they were signing them, and then when we signed them, we were mocked by Liverpool fans, by the way, because Mkhitaryan had gone for £4 million cheaper to Manchester United.
You know what? He come in and he represented Liverpool like no other. He always played with a smile on his face, even the way he left in the end. just so graceful on and off the pitch. And he's missed, like he is fucking missed. I miss Mane being around. I miss seeing him on the inside Anfield videos, on the inside training videos. He'd be one of my all-time favourite Liverpool players. And like Keith said, forget Klopp. You look at Shankly, Paisley, you name all the managers. This fella is right up there in terms of one of the best signings Liverpool have ever made. He's absolutely brilliant. I can't play down his opponents to this team, but I think he's just unfortunate. Like, all of this made me realise is how spoiled we've been with the players we've had at the club. Like, we've had some of the genuine greatest players to ever play in the position at Liverpool in the last 5 to 10 years. And I'd say even the most staunch opposition fans would agree with you through gritted teeth with the players that we brought in. Like, Mane was fucking absolutely exceptional. Some of the memories, the back heel against Watford, the goal against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, just some of his performances. He was so often the one who pulled us out of shit as well when we needed it in the title-winning season. I think he's actually our player of the year in the title-winning season.
So do I.
I think he's our best player. I think
a warrior he was.
He was absolutely fucking brilliant. And honestly, if you gave me an unlimited amount of money and told me you could take Sadio Mane back as the 26, 27-year-old that we got, I'd take him over nearly every other player in world football because he was absolutely fucking amazing for us. And it goes to show I was genuinely hurt when I found out he was missing the World Cup. Because you get attached to these players, and he's just fucking astonishing footballer, absolutely astonishing. You wax lyrical about John Barnes. This is probably the same way I feel about this fella, if I'm being deadly honest with you. And like Keith said, the only reason the other fella is because of the digits, and that's literally it. I don't think there should be like a debate, Mane versus Salah. We were so fucking lucky, both of them at the same time. We were so lucky that Mane was gracious enough to share the spotlight, and vice versa, Mo as well. The three of them just worked in tandem, and like, we have to shout out Bobby, although Rodgers brought him in and played him right wing back. Bobby is so key to all of this, but for me, Sadio Mane is an all-time Liverpool great, and I don't think it's a stretch to say he's an all-time Premier League great. I think he's an absolutely exceptional footballer, one who did everything he could to represent the club to the best of his ability from the very first day to the very last day, and that's literally all you can ask from somebody.
I look out for him at Bayern all the time, and I hate reading the stick that he gets from some of the fans because I think they were expecting a Lewandowski type player.
But he's not a Lewandowski type player.
And he's playing. They started him as a centre forward, and now he's moved back more to a wide forward, which is where he's at his best. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter what he does. If he's not scoring 40 goals, he's going to be bleeding. And he won't get the love that he got, but I can understand him wanting a new challenge and all that. But he'd be very, very much missed, and love him, love the fella.
I think Shawnee said it there, the catalyst. I think he's the man that likes to touch paper for Liverpool and Klopp. It's probably Klopp's first big signing at Liverpool. Now that's an obvious thing to say because it's his first summer, but it was seen as a risk. At 34 million or whatever it was, I think it was 30 million. I think it was, or somewhere around there. You never know the official figure, but it was seen as a risk. I did like him, and honestly, I only liked him off the back of the fact that Southampton beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in the pissings of rain. And Mane started wide, went up front, and ran a fucking muck. And he was chasing everything down. I was like, what a fucking player this fella is. And this was before he was doing hat-tricks in about 8 seconds and stuff like that. I just loved everything about him. With Liverpool, right-hand side, left-hand side, play as a 10, play up front, anywhere, he put his mind to anything. But the thing I loved, there's goals and there's assists, but the thing with Mane was, if you wanted a foot race with him, he'd go there. If you wanted to be physical with him, he'd fight with you all fucking day. And if you want to stand off him, he's actually a really intelligent footballer when it comes to creating stuff. He's not just... People always thought he was just a speed merchant, and then people went, why isn't he standing up that defender and just going by him? You got loads of that over the last 18 months, whereas he'd drop inside and like he plays that ball to Salah against United. in the 4-0 at Anfield
Yeah,
last
it was
season,
great.
where he's
Great.
literally, he twists his body in the most weirdest fucking way to clip one into Salah. And he, like, 2019-20, when they win the league, he comes back from I think it's the African Nations, and about 2 days or a day later, he's coming on a sub against Norwich or Anfield.
Yeah.
Like, none of this, I need a break. He just comes back and goes, I'll play. You know what I mean? And I
Finished
remember the
Ballon
ovation he
d'Or
gets.
this year.
What?
He finished second in the Ballon d'Or this year.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I remember being at Anfield that night and the ovation he got when he come on, not just because he was Sadio Mane, but was like, this fella means business. Like, we lose the title by a point, and this fella's like literally off a plane and back at Anfield playing. And he's an absolute monster of a player for Liverpool. And so I'm not saying it all hinges on what his signing, but it just gives us the momentum where we go, we've spent that money and look how good he is. And it gives us that bit of leeway where with Firmino and with Salah when he comes in, that you have this fella and he's just electric. You know what I mean? And he's been brilliant from day one to the last day. And I am gutted that he didn't make the World Cup because he probably won't get another chance. But an unbelievable footballer.
And it was another move from Southampton. Remember back then we used to get lashed out for signing Southampton
Lovren, Lambert, Klein. There's probably
loads
more.
of them.
Yeah, there's probably more.
They thought he was the next one.
Yeah.
Nah.
But the freedom of Liverpool says his pace, acceleration, tenacity, and big game performances was so big for Jay. I couldn't have put it better myself, to be honest.
Strength as well.
And he just had everything. And he was great in the air. He was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant football for Liverpool. And when, you know what, he's massively appreciated now. I think when you go 5-10 years down the line and they're bringing these shows on LFC TV, like 50 players that shook the cop, he'll definitely end up in there because I just think he was unbelievable. Third position, Shawnee, back to you.
Yeah, I think I went with the other fella, did I? I'm not actually.
Oh God, Shawnee, Jesus Christ! Let me see.
I didn't know how because
yes, you did.
Yeah. Three for me is Mo Salah, the greatest Liverpool player of the Premier League era for me. For what he's done, like the numbers since he's come in is astonishing, to be honest with you. I think we took him for granted a little bit, and like Mane, he had moments where he really dragged us and probably didn't get the credit for it. I think the season we were badly affected by injuries, and that COVID season, that 10-game run, he's absolutely fucking electric throughout, and he's been electric since he walked in the door again. Big moments again, things that'll stick in your head forever. Core memories as a Liverpool fan, winning it all. So unluckily goes off in the fourth Champions League final in Kiev, where it could have been so much different. But a match winner, a trophy winner, people might not be happy about what happened with the contract thing and all last year. Well, look, it got started. But for me, Sadio Mane, Mo Salah is what superlatives I ran out for this fella, because he's just left the speechless so many fucking times, and I think he'll continue to do so. He's still here. I still think he has an awful lot to offer. And again, when we look back, I think it was 35 million we paid for him. Is it 37?
34 million it was, because it did not break the record that Andy Carroll held at the time, which was famous.
Let's be honest. Like, I'm genuinely talking about this fella being one of the best players in the world since today.
It's like going out and buying a player for a fiver, wasn't it? Like,
it was literally like, it's fucking ridiculous that this fella is number 3 on my list, to be honest with you. But the reason will be explained. Okay. Because I do think the two boys have an awful lot to thank Klopp for as well. I think Jurgen Klopp and Bobby Firmino have made something where these lads can really flourish. Now, don't get me fucking wrong. They've done that part. They have done that part. They've both been excellent service. But he pips Mane for me just because of numbers and moments again. And I think when he does hang them up and walks out of Liverpool, I think he's going to be a record goal scorer in the Premier League, definitely. It's highly unlikely he catches rush, but I think if you're looking at the Premier League area, he will hold all the records. Most Champions League goals, most Premier League goals for Liverpool. He's an astonishing signing for Liverpool. To think value for money, fuck me, like literally, like Roma should have us up in court because it was fucking.
Yeah,
It's insane.
well, look, I'm gonna let the lads go in on their players now, but on Salah, he signed at the time, and if you remember, I think Klopp wanted Julian Brandt at the time,
Yeah.
and he was kind of advised, "No, look, Salah's here at this money, and we think this, it's well known or well reported." And Klopp says, "Right, okay, let's go with Salah." And at the time, he was seen as someone to come in to be a backup to Coutinho, Firmino, Mane, and he comes in, scores on his debut away at Watford, I think, start of 17-18. And then just keeps scoring, but keeps missing a bucket load of chances at the same time. And then he scores that one at home to Arsenal. Remember, he robs that, what's your man's name that plays at Barca now, is it? The right back.
Hector Bellerin.
Yeah, I think he robs him and goes through and scores. And from there on in, it was just goal after goal after goal. 44 goals he gets that season. And genuinely, if he takes his chances, he scores 60 goals that season. And he just never stops. And the amount of goal or involvements, or whatever they call them, in the amount of games he has is absolutely phenomenal. And I'll say it to this day, I don't care how good you think Luis Suarez was, Mo Salah was being a much, much better player for Liverpool than Luis Suarez. I'm not going on talent or what you think of that one season where he's outstanding. Mo Salah will have a much bigger legacy at Liverpool than Luis Suarez. Keith, who did you go for number 3?
I went for the big man at the back. I went for Virgil. And I'll be honest with you, my top 3, it's no surprise he was in the top 3, but the positions I constantly changed because I think you can make an argument for all of them to be number 1. And I went with Virgil because, remember, this is my argument from being the best, in fact, never mind being third, but like, remember before Virgil,
Lovren's getting whipped after 20 minutes against Spurs.
Like, every corner we conceded was an absolute threat that we conceded. Every long ball into the box on 85, 86 minutes was a threat to concede. Teams knew we were a soft touch, and I know I have Matip in my top 5 signings, and he was at the scene of a lot of these crimes. But what Virgil van Dijk done was Virgil van Dijk comes in, and overnight, instantaneous, there wasn't a bedding in period. Like that, Liverpool are no longer a soft touch. And he's not a tough player. He is a tough player, obviously, but he's not a big, blatant, grocky centre-back that would be throwing his face in where it hurts or anything like that. He comes in, he's the most elegant centre-back you'll ever see, and all of a sudden teams can't get through Liverpool. How long was it before someone dribbled past him? Late in 18 months or something. And then there was a big hoo-ha.
There was a fella off Arsenal that did
Nicolas
that.
Pepe
Imagine they
dribbled
done
by
a
him.
special show on it, yeah.
Yeah, first player to dribble by Virgil van Dijk.
And then he just took the ball off him.
Oh yeah, he didn't get anywhere, you know what I mean? And there was so many, wasn't it, against Spurs, and was a Son was going through and he just shown him. Oh, it was
your man, French fella.
Yeah, Dembele, not Dembele,
you know who it is.
Moussa Sissoko.
He's with
Moussa Sissoko. Son was on the other side, wasn't it? But he's shown him away from.
He keeps showing him down on his left hand side.
Yeah, onto the left and closing off the avenue for him. And it was just intelligence. That's how you do. Virgil van Dijk was and still is such an intelligent centre back. He didn't have to be putting his body on the line, and he was just the transformation from what he done was just instant, day and night. And that's the same for all of these lads, in fairness. Like, we all know who's going to be number 2 and 1 in my list, as we will know on all the other lads. But I could genuinely make a case for all of them as the best. And Virgil just, it was a case of just, where can I put these lads? And even include Mane, you know what I mean? You could have them anywhere on the list, but I just put Virgil in 3rd because the other lads I'm going to make a case for being 1 and 2. But, this fella was just the best centre-back in world football by a mile. Again, there's a theme in all these signings in that everyone laughed at them. Everyone fucking laughed at them. And they never learned. Do you know what I mean? Man United fans made a song about him being a shit Phil Jones. And you know, people are so quick to laugh and write off this fella, as they were with Mo Salah, as they were with Sadio Mane, as they were with Andy Robertson, as they were with Fabinho. You know, they write them off and write them off, but this fella just came in, and it was this, as soon as he signed, we went from being an absolute sieve at the back to being absolute watertight. And that's the compliment for a one centre back to make that difference to a whole team was just unbelievable.
We nearly make a mess of it in the summer of 2016,
Yeah.
17. And you're kind of going, will we sign someone else? Because we knew there was problems there. And then you see the Spurs away game, we're beating 4-1 and we're all over the camp and Lovren's going off and you're like, Jesus Christ, we should have done something this summer. But Klopp perseveres and says no. And I think it might be, like, is it the 27th of December he's announced? He's standing beside a Christmas tree. I remember being on the cans at the time and I was very on the cans when it came through. But just, like, when you go and watch him, and the ball coming near him and the defender or the attacker running him, he just heads it over him and just takes her on the chest and starts playing football. He defends. He defends properly. He cuts off avenues. He backs. He actually backs his teammates to do their job. If he gets attackers in certain positions, he's unbelievable. And like you said, people did laugh at 75 million, but we paid a massive fucking Blackpool tax on that, didn't we? You know, it was 50 million at the time, and he's. Kev O'Sullivan said it there. He's transformative. He's just unfucking believable. And you know what? He's not in the best form of his life at the moment. But to be in the form he's actually in, and to be at a World Cup after the injury he got, and the form he showed last season, is a testament to the fella. You just feel that, like, you remember the time Traore tried to outrun him at Molineux, and he just burned him alive, like, and just took it off him. It was mad, like, and it's that sort of stuff where you just laugh your head off when you see it happening. Like, you love. You know, he gets to the corner of the 6-yard box and he defends and he heads and he scores a couple of goals and he does that lovely switch and diagonal. And then you just see Adama Traore oiled up to the max, lashing it down the wing and Molineux and saying, I'll do this. And Van Dijk just strolls beside him and says, not a chance, bro, and just takes it on. He's been an unfucking believable sign with Liverpool Football Club. And at 75 million, Shawnee said it earlier about Southampton should have it up in court over somebody, or Roma. Southampton got robbed there as well, in my opinion. Emma.
Yeah, look, we've all got the same top three, but I've gone with Alisson at number 3. If it was based on this season alone, I'd probably put him number 1. I think he's probably number 3 because of somebody that I've got slightly further up in terms of the last few seasons. He maybe hadn't got that much to do because of the other lad, and you're really only seeing how important he is to the team this season because he's been needed probably more than ever. But up there with, I would have had Clements as being our best ever goalkeeper. I think Alisson may have just overtaken him this year. Not in terms of figures or anything like that, but in terms of importance to the team. The best in the world, like all these top 5 were probably the best in the world in their position. At one point, well, bar Matip, there's a little dig back for Keith.
Yeah,
you know what? He bided his time there, Keith, and he's absolutely volleyed you.
He was waiting, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Extremely harsh. That
look, I'm saying, I know what's coming up, and I know what's seen in the chat as well that people would have him number 1. I think if he stays for another couple of seasons and continues on the form that he has here now, he's probably moving up the list a little bit. I just think maybe the 2 in front of him have done that little bit more in their time at the club to kind of justify their positions ahead of them.
Now, you all get a chance to shout at each other always at picks now, in fairness. So, Shawnee, back to you. Position 2.
Yeah, number 2, I went for Big Virg. I remember, like yesterday, the day we signed him, I let out a yelp. I think it was primal. In my biased opinion, the greatest centre half that's ever played the game, as far as I'm concerned. This fella has transcended what it is to be. This fella will inspire the next generation of centre backs. He's made kids turn up to Sunday league grounds and schoolboy football and say, I want to be a centre back. Let's be honest with you, barring this year, he's looked invincible as a Liverpool player, even after the injury. Absolutely invincible. We've seen what happened to him when we lose him. But people turn around. Look, Mane and Salah scored about a load of goals, but goals win game. Defence wins championships. And I think without number 1 and 2 on our list, we're nearly men under Jurgen Klopp. We're only ever nearly men. You don't win anything without these two. And I think, again, the fee bulked that. But if we had to pay double, I still reckon we would have owed Southampton money, because that's how good he is. Genuinely, I mean it when I say he's the best centre-back I've ever seen. Like, you laugh at forwards when you do stuff. I was laughing at this fella playing centre-back doing stuff. He made the game look easy. He played with slippers on for 3.5 years at Liverpool in Europe. Across the way. A late bloomer. Obviously, don't see the very best of him until he's at Liverpool. But I think Mane would have been very grateful to play for Liverpool. I think Salah would be very grateful for what Liverpool did for his career. I reckon we could have bought a lot of attacking players who scored plenty of goals, not taken away from the lads. I genuinely feel we were lucky to be able to get this fella, because honestly, he's Kevin Ball says that. Imagine City got him.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's fucking incredible, and I can't wait to look back on his highlights. Think just taking the piss out of everyone. The way people talk about him. You had Ferdinand and all balking at him. I believe he's the best Premier League centre back of all time. He's the best centre back I've seen personally. Even watching him in the flesh, there's zero fallacies. There was zero faults. Like his range of passing, his pace, his reading of the game. He's so important to this Liverpool team. Honestly, I dread to think where we'd be without him. And the only reason where we never really felt that reality where we are about him is because of the fella I had at number 1. So we'll get to that. But for me, Virgil van Dijk, number 2, an incredible footballer, incredible servant, coming in on top of it of him now because of his level of performance. But look, it's allowed. But don't be deterred. This fella has been near invincible since he walked in at Liverpool.
I think the 75 million we pay for him, I think, as well being paid back at this stage. I don't think he doesn't know Liverpool anything for me, even at that price. Spoiler alert: Keith and Emma have both picked Mo Salah as their number 2. So Keith, Mo Salah, then Emma, Mo Salah.
Yeah, look, Mo Salah, again, I've said it a minute ago, the team of these players coming in was flop. Mo Salah plays for Chelsea, doesn't get a chance, goes to Chelsea at the time from Basel. And I remember Liverpool were linked with him at the time, and he went to Chelsea, and it was a bit of a mad move because of the players they had in them positions. And he just couldn't break in. He was young, couldn't break in, goes off to Italy, does the business. But not to the extent that we think that we're going to see when we sign him. So we're linked with him, we're signing him. As you touched on a minute ago, it's Julian Brandt or Mo Salah. And if you look at Julian Brandt's a great player and he's still very good. But he's a player who's dropped back. Do you know what I mean? He's not a goal scorer. He's actually playing more midfield now than a winger. And to think the difference between these two, it's fucking night and day. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy to think that. But that's the beauty of Klopp, is Klopp put his hand up and was like, this, I wanted someone else. The boys pushed for this. Because I don't think anybody saw what was to come. No, in fact, nobody saw what was to come. It's impossible to have seen when we signed Mo Salah what we were getting out of Mo Salah. The numbers are ridiculous. Every stat, every meme that comes out, every stat that comes out about a player, the best goal scored on record, bar Mo Salah.
Mo Salah, yeah.
The most right-footed goals in Premier League history because Mo Salah's left-footed. It's just ridiculous now at this stage to accept Mo Salah.
I love the one where they try to compare Eden Hazard in the Premier League to Mo Salah. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, Eden Hazard was brilliant, but Eden Hazard had this thing where he was great for the season, fucked off for the season, came back for the season, but I don't think he ever scored 20 goals in the Premier League season. He could have done
I
it
think
once.
Salah's
Actually.
worst season was more than Hazard's best. And look, they're different type of players. Hazard in his day was a very skillful, creative player. Mo Salah is not really, in fairness, it's not his game. But the pace, you talked about the Arsenal goal and the video with that from the tunnel. Remember that they're in the tunnel and you see the crowds all on their feet because it's intercepted, and you just see the bleeding road runner going by and then a load of lads chasing them.
Yeah.
It's one of the best videos ever. And you know, we've all spoke about Sadio Mane and the rivalry they had with each other to push each other, because not only are they two of the best in the Premier League, two of the best in Liverpool, two of the best in Africa, and we all know like the pride of being, you know, Africa's top player and to come from such sort of humble beginnings. But this fella has transcended sort of football now. He's on billboards in Times Square, you know, he's a figurehead in the Muslim world, and he's iconic now at this stage. And look, again, this was me acceptance speech for Mo Salah as number one. He's the greatest forward in my opinion that I think he's the greatest forward. He'll go down as the greatest forward we've ever had. And in Premier League history, I still think he gets overlooked. Longevity will always hold him back, and longevity is a thing that annoys me now because it's not really a thing these days. What a player does in their period now, their career now, and especially foreign players that come to England, they don't tend to stay. You know, there's always a move and then another move after that. And I'm going to discount the longevity, but what Mo Salah is doing, 44 goals in his first year, you know, 30s, 20s, you name it, he's just banging in goals. Last season, up to AFCON, he was outrageous. He was genuinely the best player in the world. And then it sort of it goes off the rails.
He gets a double whammy. He gets the whole African nations, then the World Cup qualifier, and he's just getting battered from pillar to post, and he's played every minute in that African nations, and he's just wrecked, you know. But
and if you watch, I remember we all watched that at the time, and we all said the same thing. Like Egypt, they're not a great team, and he was flogged to death. You know what I mean? It's everything through him, and it was just as a player, like you look at the goal scoring record, and I'm not comparing him with Cristiano Ronaldo, but you know, people talk about Cristiano Ronaldo as the greatest Premier League forward of all time, and when you look at Salah's numbers compared to his, it's, you know, it's outstanding. It stands up to everybody, in my opinion. You know, and you take into consideration the time that he's playing, the teams he's up against. Yeah, and
you know, it's not like he's only here 3 years. This is a sixth season.
You know, he's going to be here, you know, 8 years probably before we're looking at a contract situation again. And I just think the fella is going to go down as one. And again, we said about the mocking when we signed him. People were delighted when he had a dip in form as well. You know what I mean? The rival fans, they're all delighted when Mo Salah, and that tells you everything you need to know. Like, terrified of the fucker. Unbelievable.
75 likes so far. If we get to 100, we'll give away a beanie. If we don't, Shawnee's going to give it away to someone.
We're not revealing our number ones if they don't.
No, we have to. We have to get out of here. Me and Shawnee have to play FIFA.
No, we'll leave them hanging.
Well, they're not leaving me fucking hanging. Me and Shawnee play FIFA every night.
We can finish the show. We won't tell them who number one is.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Right, I'm with you. Sorry, Keith. Apologies.
You ruined that one.
Mo Salah.
Yeah. Look, I like how everything that Keith and Shawnee said. The numbers speak for themselves. He's a one-man record-breaking machine. He's broken nearly every record there is to break. He could have a goal of the season competition by himself. Some of the goals he scored, the goals against Watford, the goals against Man City. That one that kind of sticks out to me even is the goal against Chelsea, where he kind of comes in on the left and just absolutely batters it into the top corner. I wouldn't go as far as saying he's our best forward player ever, but he's definitely in the top three anyway.
There's a little dig back for the
No, it's not.
That's all right. That's
absolute sparring session.
Every little dig is just diluted. You know, it feels
it's
soulless
diluted. It's
now.
diluted because of the Baileys, you man cunt.
Again, Keith has mentioned it an awful lot, and it's most of these players. When they were coming in, he was a Chelsea reject. Do you know what I mean? And you're right, he didn't come in to be a starter. And Keith said it. There was people that didn't want him in. I still have screenshots of tweets.
He comes in. Doesn't he come in?
When he was coming in.
Doesn't he come in and make his debut against Watford? It's the same game that Coutinho has a back problem. Am I right?
Yeah, because Coutinho that season, the
And
three
Salah
lads
starts.
start off, and they
Yeah,
all scored. The three of them scored in that game.
yeah. So there you go. Look, it's been brilliant. 82 likes. We've 18 likes to go before I ask the question. Sean, you'll know the answer to the question, and there's going to be a question, and the fourth person to get it right will win the beanie.
Before we move off, sorry, Kev mentions his Salzburg away goal. Never gets mentioned in his great
where he
goals.
goes around the keeper and he's on the end line,
and he's on the bleeding end line, and
Right
it's his
foot.
right foot.
Yeah,
It's his right foot. Some
yeah.
of his best goals were with his right foot, and
Yeah,
it's one that
unbelievable.
always gets forgotten. What a goal!
Unbelievable. Right, we're down to our top player. Shawnee, speak to me about your top player before we go. You there, Shawnee?
Leaving you hanging.
Oh, Shawnee's froze. He'll come back to me. Keith, speak to me about your top player before we go.
Alisson Becker, to me, again, I've said it on all the all switch positions. It could have been any of them at any given time, but Alisson Becker for me, and again, this is all Liverpool, cheerleader with me pom poms. To me, he's the best goalkeeper we've ever had, and Ray Clements. The longevity for Ray Clements is a thing that in the 70s and the 60s into the 80s, you played a decade with a club. I think he's the best keeper we've ever had. I think he's the best keeper in the Premier League history as well. I think I wouldn't swap him for Prime Schmeichel or Prime Cech. They were both great keepers, but Alisson is just...
That's possibly a really good show, actually.
He's outrageous. Like, this fella, he scored a fucking header, and the header was ridiculous. He's given me the best moment of supporting Liverpool, and that's that goal. Like, I see it now, right? And I fill up. I don't really, but you know what I mean? You get a little bit emotional watching it when they do the Rocky music and all, you know what I mean? And they show the interview because he just lost his dad. Like, everything about this fella, he's a fucking good-looking bastard. He's Shawnee Lawson's doppelganger, but we won't mention that. But he's outrageous. He's saved us. I said Virgil van Dijk, when we brought in Virgil van Dijk, we stopped being a bleeding soft touch at the back. But we still had Karius in the Champions League final. Do you know what I mean? Who cost us. And the choice was Karius or it was Mignolet. And what we needed to do was we needed to go out and get best in class. And we went and got best in class. And 63 million or something was it we paid for them? 60 something?
No, it was 60...
67.
67
or 68.
67.
Because Kepa goes about 3 days later for 71 or 72 or something.
Yeah.
He's the most expensive goalkeeper in the world for about 48 hours, I think.
But that just took the pressure off him and all. Like, he's won us more games, you know what I mean, than some strikers will win you games. He's just absolutely outrageous. As I say, the save against Napoli in the Champions League, we go on. The header against West Brom is the best moment I've had following Liverpool.
The save against Southampton 2 weeks ago was just...
Every game, Gav. We've said it a million times. He makes the ridiculous look normal. He normalising shit. It's ridiculous what this fella is doing. But he comes in and he just changes everything. And he's a humble fella. He's a quiet. He's not these head case goalkeepers. People always say you have to be a bit mad to be a goalkeeper. And I know he was coming out and doing the little drag backs. He got caught out, but it doesn't faze him. Nothing seemed to faze him. He'd make a mistake and he just gets over it and he gets on and he comes back stronger. And I just think, without him, he's the best I've seen. He's the best goalkeeper. My young fella is 8. Sorry, I'm forgetting his age. He's 8. It's that Bailey's. And he's always asking me, he's mad into FIFA, right? And he loves all the icon teams. And he's like, Schmeichel, what was he? I'm like, yeah, he was great. Yeah, I hate giving them praise, you know what I mean? And he goes through all these players, the old players and all. He learns about Lev Yashin, and not that he's in FIFA or anything, but he knows the Yashin Award is the best keeper and all. He's asking me. And I always say, like, while looking at the best keeper now, he stands up to everyone. Do you know what I mean? He's beaten off... A few years ago, there was the Ederson or Alisson thing. Now, that's not mentioned anymore. Man City fans fucking hate Ederson because he was not a flash in the pan, but they thought he was something, and he wasn't. Alisson has just been consistent, and we're talking not a consistent 7, we're talking a consistent 9. This fella is just absolutely outrageous. He's one of the best signings we've ever made. He's one of the best signings, again, in Premier League history, and 67 million. Bargain.
Doesn't know
Absolute
anything.
bargain. Yeah.
Shawnee, you went for Alisson Becker as well. Go on.
Importance. The main thing that comes to me when I think of Alisson, every other player in that list have had lulls in their Liverpool career. This fella hasn't. He's had ricks, and then he's gone on to have brilliant games after ricks. You know, he's the best goalkeeper Liverpool have ever had. And if you want to put me on a debate show with opposition fans debating whether he's better than the rest of them, I absolutely will.
I can make that happen.
I think football, like, you think about what scratches our itch when you're thinking about football, and you look back and you think, like, for example, the time we're in now, you're thinking of moments and what moments mean to you in football. Who's giving you more moments for Liverpool than Alisson Becker since Klopp walked in, apart from Klopp himself? And I'll go out on a limb saying this here, saying we could sign Van Dijk, we could sign Mane, we could sign Salah, we could sign every midfielder we missed out on, we could sign every other centre back we would have missed out on. If we don't sign Alisson, you probably don't win anything. All the moments lads are thinking about, go back and watch the last 10 minutes of the Champions League final against Paul. It's art.
Ridiculous.
It's art.
Yeah.
Like, the fella controls the game from goal. He controls the game of football from the net. Honestly, he's absolutely fucking. I love the bounds of the bastard, and we all cried with him when everything that went into that West Brom moment, what had happened to him, what he gave up, what he sacrificed, what we've learned recently, that he knew had he went to mourn, that he probably wouldn't have been able to play for the rest of the season. And when you look back at what, you always look, it's like, what have you done for me lately? It's like, what did you do for me at all? Alisson Becker sacrificed, I'd say, more than any one of those lads to play for Liverpool. And he's never, ever, ever let us down. He's a go in my eyes. Goals, assists, big save, gets us out of the group, gets us out of group stages against Napoli, the big save. The countless saves he makes in 1920 by just being absolutely fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Honestly, I run out of superlatives for this fella, but when you say to me, without him, the ship might not sink, but I tell you what, the ship doesn't get to the fucking top. That's for damn sure. As good as all the rest of them were, this fella is sublime. He's absolutely sublime. I've never seen a keeper as good as him one-on-ones. His distribution is ridiculous. It's commanding of the area. And again, it comes back to the old saying, like with the left back, we were tormented with shy goalkeepers for years. I'll never forget it. The night of Kiev, we were standing down in Stoutman's, and Andy Young asked me on the stairs, because you know the way Andy Young is, he'd row in behind. He's an ultimate supporter. Like, when everyone was so fucking mad at Cardias that night, he was like, "Who the fuck do you get?" And I remember saying to myself, "We'll just have to go and get your man Alisson." And again, similar to Virgil, I feel we are so fucking lucky that this fella came to play for Liverpool, because very like the Tchouaméni situation in the summer, that the Tchouaméni's actually come out himself and said, he came out and said it there last week, that Liverpool was the other team in from. He was so close to going to Real Madrid, and they opted for Courtois in the end. And that opened up the chance for him to come to Liverpool. And I'd imagine
Chelsea as well.
And
He said
Chelsea,
it this week that Chelsea were in heavy for
I'd
him.
imagine Alisson looks back with absolutely zero regrets, because he's going to go down in Liverpool. He'll go down in Premier League folklore. And I just hope he has more titles, because he absolutely deserves them. He's won absolutely everything. And again, he's had the humility to give up a spot for Kelleher in finals and Adrian Super Cup. And you could see how happy he was for them boys as well. So I just feel like we're fucking beyond blessed that this fella represents Liverpool. And I think if Brazil do go on to win the World Cup, he's going to be huge, and I have no doubt about it. This fella is genuinely one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time.
He's an absolute game changer. Like he's, you go back and look at Liverpool with Clements, and we're all looking back on videos and stuff like that, and I've watched loads of them. But the big thing about Clements is that Liverpool had very little to do defensive-wise in a lot of games, but Clements was always ready. And Alisson's the same, especially when you look at 18, 19, 19, 20. And even in 2021, when we're not great, he's still a big fucking player for us. You know what I mean? Last season, huge again for us. You're right, he doesn't have a problem with Kelleher playing in cup finals or wherever it might be. There's a lot of clubs out there that say, no, he's back in for that. And, and he's not. He's no problem with that. Again, he's another player where the price doesn't fucking matter because he owes you nothing. And the only thing I hope, the only way I see, if you were to say to me, is there any good way for Alisson to leave Liverpool, is if he goes home to Brazil. Because he always seems that sort of fella that would like to go home, and I'd hold nothing against him. I'd hate to see him playing for anybody else in Europe, though, because A, he wouldn't be playing for Liverpool, and B, he'd have to probably play against us, and he's just a monster. One-on-one, he's coming out like all in black. He's even wearing the bleeding tights and everything now.
I forgot to mention as well, he's absolutely fucking gorgeous.
He's phenomenal.
And
he turns up at Anfield a couple of weeks ago there, and he's shaved and he's baby faced, and people are like, "Isn't he gorgeous?" And he just rocks up with a fucking. He looks like TJ Hooker going around the World Cup now. He's just unbelievable. Emma.
Before we go,
this is a bit of a fucking anticlimax now.
No, before we get on to Emma, just on Alisson, like when you look at, and it's not digging out Kepa, but we spoke about him being the record for Alisson's a mentality monster, and if you look at how Kepa's Chelsea career went, the pressure and how he sort of crumbled. And if you look at the League Cup final last year when he's all over the shop and he comes on as their specialist, and we've been so lucky with Alisson that he's just been the epitome of mentality monsters that Klopp talks about.
I think he's unbelievable. Anti-climax, Emma, walk away. Who's your number one pick?
I went with Van Dijk as the number one. And basically because I think Alisson was probably the final piece in the jigsaw. It was only like that size of a piece, whereas the change that Van Dijk, I felt, had on the team was massive. Alisson, don't get me wrong, has had a huge impact on the team. But the transformation of the team when Alisson came in, I just think relaxed everybody.
Van Dijk.
He gets this. Oh, sorry, Van Dijk. Sorry. You hear people saying that he's a jockey merchant and he never has to put in a tackle. Another very good defender, famous defender, Maldini, said if he has to make a tackle, that means he's made a mistake. So defenders don't need to be making tackles to be good defenders. And Shawnee said it, and Keith has already said it, an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. Probably up there with Alan Hansen. I think I've said it on the pod before that maybe I think Hansen maybe just edges it a little bit with him coming out with the ball at his feet. Probably a better on the ball than Van Dijk. But in terms of Virgil, he's just the effect that he's had on the team is unbelievable. The best kind of you touched on Sissoko and others earlier on, and Pepe trying to go dribble around him. But the best moment, and it was only last season, was when Lautaro Martinez gets the ball and he's through 1-on-1 and he looks up and it's Van Dijk.
In the San Siro.
Was it? Yeah.
It was the first leg.
And he literally looks up, sees Van Dijk, and decides to start running for the corner flag. And it's like, that. What kind of an impact is that? Yeah. And Martinez is not that bad of a player. Do you know what I mean? But he has that effect where lads go, right, I'm not even going to fucking try here. I'm now here. You're heading for the exit.
Well, look, top five: Shawnee, Robbo 5, Mane 4, Salah 3, Van Dijk 2, Alisson 1. Keith has Matip in 5, Mane 4, VVD in 3, Salah 2, Alisson 1, and Emma has Fabinho in 5, Mane 4, Alisson 3, Salah 2, Van Dijk number 1. We are allowed to give away a beanie hat because you got over 100 likes. Now, we're going to change it up a little bit as the week goes on because this is for the live viewers, and then during the week we do for stuff in the comments, and then people listening on audio, we'll try to do something for them so we can spread it around a bit. But the question is, and the first person to get it right, and the likes of Kevin Sullivan and Chris Brack, you're not allowed fucking into it, right? But the question is, And Shawnee will know the answer because it's from a famous Shawnee saying. Gareth Southgate's idea of a really good night on a Saturday night is doing an audit of what? All right, first one. Throw it in there and we see how we get on. Kieran B says, what's your top 5, Gav? I'd have Mane a bit higher, but you can't really argue around if you want to put Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah first. You just really can't. They're unbelievable. I think I'd like to give a mention to Wijnaldum. I think Wijnaldum was huge for Liverpool as well. He doesn't get into the top 5s there tonight, but Wijnaldum was ridiculous for Liverpool as well, right up until the time he left. But look, you can make arguments, even any top 5 at all. You can make arguments. Thor says his socks. No, he doesn't do an audit on his socks. No. Avo says ham sandwiches. It's not an audit on a ham sandwich. Do you all think it's your socks? It's not. The answer is not socks. I promise.
It was mentioned in the Telegram last night as well. And there's a lot of people in there in the Telegram.
Yes. G10 says cocktail sausages. No. But Shawnee did say he would order Gareth Southgate would order cocktail sausages off the menu, off the kids' menu.
I was saying pot noodle and a wank. I think that's even a bit exotic for old Southgate.
Yeah. Southgate wouldn't be into that. That's way too exotic for him.
Yeah, he says a few Hail Marys at the end of the bed and gets into them. I'd say he doesn't.
Yeah, waistcoats is not the answer. Waistcoats is not the answer. Look, well, people are lashing it in there, and we see who comes up first. With the answer. If you don't come up first, we're just giving away 2 tomorrow. But rest of the week, look, the World Cup's still going.
All this has made me aware of how much shite I talk on this podcast.
Yeah. But you've still come out with the best line ever, where you said, "I'd rather watch me dog get out of the bat," which is probably the best thing we've ever.
You could do a show on Shawnee's one line.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could. We should sell it for Christmas. For the kids, stocking filler. You know, imagine giving it the actual as a stocking.
You should go back and snip them and have them as your message.
Yeah,
when we send you a message.
No, people haven't got this show. I can't believe they haven't got it. But the rest of the week, look, there has been watch-alongs and there's been update shows on the World Cup, and we'll try to do a few of them throughout the week. All right, we will, but we're going to try to throw some Liverpool stuff in there as well. Might do a quiz, might do a draft. We'll see where we go when we talk to everyone tomorrow, see who's available throughout the different nights, what they can do, what they want to do as well, and we'll keep that going. Go and check out weareliverpool.ie because our bobble hats have landed there. They've literally a handful of them left, and in fairness, he got them in and he's shipped out everything. Between I think Friday night, he shipped them all out. So it was it's a really good service. It's in and it's out, and even the free ones I've given away to a few kids that we know. That's going out tomorrow morning. So it's all good. Shawnee Noble. Oh, Dazzler wins it.
There you go.
Dazzler wins it. His cutlery drawer, correct. Gareth Southgate on a good Saturday night does an audit on his cutlery drawer. Dazzler is the winner.
I thought it was his jocks now.
No.
Shawnee said it a few times.
No, it wasn't his jocks. It was definitely his cutlery drawer. So Dazzler wins. Dazzler, do us a favour. Will you please leave a comment after the show, in the comments after, please, and then we will get in contact with you from there. So if you leave a comment there and drop us an email, lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com, and we go through the process of making sure it's you and it's all good, and we get that beanie hat out to you. Literally as soon as we sort that out, we can let Gav at weareliverpool.ie know, and he'll have it out in 2 shakes of what tail do you?
A lamb's tail.
A lamb's tail, is it? Okay. Could have said something really bad there, but I didn't. Emma, anything else before we go?
No, all good.
All good. Keith, anything else before we go?
No.
Any music recommendations for the week, Keith?
No, I've been listening to a lot of 90s rock music. I made a Spotify playlist for 90s plus rock, but it's all a load of shit. Like it's.
I sent you the Cranberries
version
of
the
Go Your Own
Cranberries,
Way the other day. That was good, wasn't it?
It was great.
Yeah.
I like the Cranberries. They never get a good mention. Zombies a great song.
Yeah. Cranberries are good.
See, it's mad. Like my uncle is mad into looking at TikTok shit and all this, and he comes out with these songs, and he's gone big into Rick Astley, and I don't know how he's got into Rick Astley. But yeah, so that's been on a fair bit in our house as well, But a lot of rock music. I love rock music, and tomorrow I love reggae music, and the next day I love you know, Motown. It chops and changes, but rock at the moment, yeah.
Will you lash on a bit of Crystal Swing or that? No.
Yeah. Why
No.
not? What
Anyone
a
that doesn't
band.
know Crystal
People
Swing,
don't
go
know
and check out the
Google them.
videos of Crystal Swing.
What was the song? He likes drinks tequila or something, was it?
Tequila,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah. What a
Why-
phenomenal
why-
guy.
Johnny knows it. He has the moves
He
and all
has the
going.
news, yeah. Phenomenal
you
guy.
what,
And
I'll
listen,
tell you
if
what,
you're...
you're a lying bastard if you'd said you wouldn't have a knockoff the Elwyn now.
I'd say the son already did, but whatever.
Come here, and if you're feeling down in the dumps at all this week, what to do is type into YouTube Pat Kenny Mattress Mick, where Pat Kenny calls an actual human mattress, because he believes that's his first name, which is still one of the best videos on YouTube of all time. Plus, with the toy show being on, I seen a video the other day of Pat Kenny talking to a young fella on the set while he's playing Lara
Raider.
Croft, the Tomb Raider, on a PlayStation 1, and it's like, oh, it's realistic, Pat, and all, and he's gone on with this, and the next one, his door opens, and it's like this Lara Croft figure comes out, and it's just pure silence. Yeah, man, just staring at her as if he doesn't know who it is. So check that out, it's absolutely amazing. Shawnee, anything else before we go?
No, that's it. Good show, enjoyed that. Good talk about Liverpool again. You actually made me miss the Reds a little bit.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, can't wait to see what the world of Twitter brings next week. Last week was very confrontational. I'm telling you, I love it. I'm waiting on it. I'm caught in these waffles.
Shawnee's bang up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know me handle. Give me a shout.
Yeah. And don't be a sausage.
Yeah, everyone's, there's a lot of sausages out there.
Shawnee's just proclaiming everyone's a sausage at the moment. It's a great word. Fair play to him.
And you know what? Keep an eye out, because they're going to tell us tomorrow how they all know about this new doctor fella that came tonight. So we'll,
Dr.
we'll
Hook. When you're in love with a beautiful woman.
That's the show.
That's
What was
all
your
you
man
know.
off? What was the doctor of The Simpsons?
Dr. Nick Riviera.
Yeah, that's who Liverpool have in. And,
Dr. Leg from EastEnders.
Leg. Jake Semessa says, new club doctor, the title is on, there you go. And of course, because we brought in a new doctor, that means Liverpool won't be sold now, because that's how the game works. You bring someone in, they're not being sold. You let someone go, definitely selling. That's how we're working at the minute. But listen, that has been the Fatback 4. Klopp's top 5 signings, brought to you by Shawnee, by Keith, and by Emmet. Well done to Dazzler for winning the beanie hat. You really like it because they're quality. And we'll be back tomorrow with something at some stage. Keep an eye out, like on your way out, subscribe, turn the bell icon on, all that sort of stuff. Dazzler has to stick a comment in after the show and send us an email, and we'll sort him out. Thanks a million to everyone for watching. Over now.